Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. I am your host, Andy Bentley, and the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about Magic the Gathering, Commander, and basically anything else that I feel like I need to talk about. I honestly wasn't entirely sure I was going to record this week because I have an infection in my leg and it's making things rather painful. It's just and it's making it kind of hard to form solid thoughts, let alone articulating that into full sentences. But we're gonna try. So this Friday I did suffer through my infection to go play Commander at the LGS. And again, there's a learning curve to playing there again. Not necessarily a bad learning curve, it's just that at that store they prefer to play at a higher level of play. Not CEDH, but just they play more optimized. Let me elaborate on that. Most of the people that play there are people who formerly were tournament grinders. So they came from competitive formats. And it's very hard for them to not look at things in that light. Like, they want to win. But again, they're definitely not at CEDH power levels, and I'm not going to show up with a CEDH power level deck. It would be more of a... My mind needs to not be on casual. My mind needs to be, no, we're going to play optimally and win. And that's kind of hard to get back into, especially since I can't get up there every week. And again, forming coherent thoughts was not something I was having much luck with. I don't know. That's just kind of the nomenclature, the culture of my LGS. It's on the cutthroat side. We still tone down a little bit for new players. And, we're never mean to new players, and we'll actively, in the middle of a game, help them play their deck if it looks like they're struggling or if they're in the middle of learning. It's just an observation about my LGS. That's all. And I think it's time to kick it to that thing, and then I'll be right back.
Hey, did you know that for as little as $1 a month, you can help support this podcast? All you have to do is go to patreon.com/commandersforge, and that is CMDR_forge. That's it. That's all I got to say about it. If you want to help support the podcast, you can go there.
Okay, welcome back. And, well, I struggled to figure out what exactly I was going to talk about in the second half of the podcast. I was just kind of thumbing through some of my decks, and I came across Kangi, and I don't think I ever really talked about this deck, and if I did, I didn't really talk about it much. So let's talk about Kangi Skywarden. He is a 3/3 bird wizard for 3, a white and a blue. He has flying, vigilance, and whenever Kangi attacks, attacking creatures you control with flying get +2/+0 to end a turn. And whenever Kangi blocks, blocking creatures with flying get to +0/+2 until end of turn. So, if you can imagine, the deck is white-blue flyers. And I pretty much stuck to that a lot. Mainly because I wanted to make a white-blue deck that wasn't a control deck. I wanted to make a white-blue deck that fell a little more into the tempo or aggro side of things. But that's how we ended up with stuff like Skycat Sovereign. It's a 1/1 elemental cat for a white and a blue with flying. It gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with flying, and for 2, a white and a blue, you can create a 1/1 white catbird creature token with flying. And focus on lords and such, and cost reductions. Brings us to Empyrean Eagle. It's a 2/3 bird spirit for 1, a white and a blue. It has flying, and other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. Or Warden of Evil Isle. A 2/2 bird wizard for 2 and blue, flying. Creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. Archetype of Imagination. It's a 3/2 human wizard for 4 blue, but creatures you control have flying. Creatures your opponents control lose flying and can't have or gain flying. Namely, we want all the flyers. You know, like Dragonlord Ojutai. It's a 5/4 Elder Dragon for 3, a white and a blue. Has flying and is hexproof as long as it's untapped, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom in any order. Dream Eater is a 4/3 Nightmare Sphinx for 4 blue with flash flying, and when it enters you surveil 2 or 4. And when you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Cloudblazer is a 2/2 human scout for 3, a white and a blue. Flying, obviously. When Cloudblazer enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Elite Guards Mage, 2/3 human wizard, 2 white-blue, flying. When Elite Guard Mage enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Wind Raider Sphinx is a 3/7 Sphinx for 5 blue, flying, and whenever a creature you control with flying, whenever a creature with flying attacks, you may draw a card. That includes creatures you don't control. Loyal Drake is a 2/2 Drake for 2 and a blue, flying, and it has Lieutenant, so at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, draw a card. Kefnet the Mindful is a 5/5 God, 2 and a blue, flying, indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you have 7 or more cards in hand, and you can pay 3 and a blue to draw a card, and then you may return a land you control to its owner's hand. Safara the Sky's Blade is a 7/7 Angel for 4, white, but you may pay white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Flying, lifelink, and other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. And the last creature we're going to throw out there today is Brago, King Eternal. 2/4 Spirit, 2 white-blue, flying. Whenever Brago, King Eternal deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. It's a lot of flyers. But we are packing stuff like Winged Words. It's a sorcery for 2 and a blue. Spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a creature with flying to draw 2 cards. Favorable Winds is an enchantment for 1 and a blue that says creatures with flying get +1/+1. And then we're running a few Planeswalkers. Namely, we have Kasmina, Enigmatic Mentor, 5 Loyalty Planeswalker for 3 and a blue. But spells your opponents cast that target a creature or Planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. And you can -2 to make a 2/2 wizard creature token and draw and then discard a card. The Wanderer is a 5 Loyalty Planeswalker for 3 and a white. And it prevents all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. And you can -2 to exile target creature with power 4 or greater. Dovin Baan is a 3 Loyalty Planeswalker for 2, a white, and a blue. He has a +1 for until your next turn. Up to 1 target creature gets -3/-0, and its activated abilities can't be activated. -1, you gain 2 life and draw a card. And -7, you get an emblem with your opponents can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap step. Dovin Grand Arbiter is a 3 Loyalty Walker for 1, a white, and a blue. +1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you put a loyalty counter on Dovin Grand Arbiter. His -1 is to create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and you gain a life. And his -7 is to look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 3 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And finally, Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. 5 Loyalty Walker for 3 blue. +1 is to scry 1, then draw a card. His -2 is to return target creature to its owner's hand. And -8, you get an emblem with whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, counter that spell. So, the deck isn't the most powerful list I'm sure I could put together. But it's fun for, some mid-tier games. And yeah, that's Kangi Skywarden. So, as this draws to a close, just a quick reminder that I do have a full Sliver Overlord Commander deck that is up for sale for $1,500. And if you are interested, to DM me on Twitter. And still trying to raise money to pay off the tax man. So, that's a thing. Anywho, if you enjoyed it, hit the like buttons on whatever you happen to be listening on. Subscribe if you happen to be on YouTube. And hopefully my leg will be better when I see you next time. That brings us to the end of the podcast. I would like to thank Nate and Erica Jacobs for designing my logo, and Cody Mulpey and Ian Foss for allowing me to use a sample of music from their band The Crypt. The podcast can be found on YouTube by searching Commander's Forge. The podcast is Commander's Forge, that is CMDR_Forge on Twitter. I can be found on Twitter at BentzMr, that is BENTZMR. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, here's to fun games and sick plays.